one's going to be July the 13th. So typically about the every other month thing. So it's going to be back here at the Country Cafe in the back of the WLX. It's going to be July the 13th, which is a Saturday. And of course, when we do Saturday seminars, they begin at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we try to be as prompt as we can on that. We call it Will's Trust in the Nursing Home. And that's what we're going to go over. Not in the depth that we go over things here on the radio station, but we certainly hit the options that are available. If you're new to this and you want to just learn some basic options or think there's not much, I don't even know what options are available with estate planning.
Yeah.
There's lots. There's lots. And estate planning is not just, writing yourself a will. I mean, there's a lot more to estate planning. There's the will, which of course passes property, distributes property after death. We have several kinds of trusts that we do. Trusts also distribute property after death, but they also do important things like they avoid having to go through probate, and they make sure that your distribution that you want happens exactly the way you want under the full force and authority of our trust law. Then, then we do a lot of TennCare planning, pre-planning and crisis planning, and that's part of estate planning too. And so we do a lot, and there's a lot involved in it. We touch on some of that in the seminar. So if any of those concerns are happening in your life or your family dynamics have got something like that going on, come hear what we have to say. It's I call it a free educational seminar. I focus on the word educational because, if you don't know your options, then it's hard to pick one if you don't know what they are.
That's true. That's right.
And so let's learn about them, because when people have an interest in this, something usually precipitates somebody's interest. Maybe an unfortunate event for somebody they know or in the community, or just somebody getting sick and they're worried about going to long-term care. Just something precipitates their thought process. One of the first things they do is either talk to other people or go on the internet. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. Just because when I was a kid, it used to be, if it was in print, it had to be true, right?
Yeah.
If it was in a book or in the newspaper, it had to be true because it was in print. And
that's
of course,
right.
As we get older, we know that's not the case. And certainly, if it's on the internet, doesn't mean it's truth or accurate. And so, because of that, there is a lot of misinformation that floats around about this very subject matter. And so don't be misinformed, because this is very important to you and your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
A distribution of your assets and your wealth to the subsequent generations, you don't want that to be put at risk. And you want it to go where you want it to go. I like to tell people, this is your stuff. And they say, well, do I have to be fair? I have 5 children. Do I have to be fair? The answer is no. It's your stuff. Do what you want. Fair is what you think it is.
There's such a huge difference, and I see this in my line of work. There's such a huge difference in someone who has made these plans, and all the plans are clear, and they've come to someone like yourself, and they've made ahead of time plans for their departure from this world, and so the family's left behind to deal with it, but they have everything they need in instructions and in documents. Whether it's a will or a trust or all those stuff, if it's laid out and everybody's clear on what's to be done, I've seen it so many times when it's this way, and it's so easy to deal with that circumstance, the properties, the things they own, all the stuff that's got to be dealt with. Well, this is what we need to do because this is what we've been given to do, and it's so smooth. The other way is totally opposite.
Just chaos.
It's total chaos. When we, we've got this and we don't know, we're all talking about what we need to do with that. And it's just so different. It's so different. It
is, and it's important because, what really is at risk is your life's accomplishments. I mean, when you talk about life's accomplishments, I'm narrowing it to material possessions and wealth. Okay, which in my opinion is definitely down the list a little bit. As far as what's important in life. But that's what we're kind of talking about. We're talking about if you spend your lifetime accumulating some property, accumulating some wealth, so that you can enjoy your life, not only while you're working, but also in retirement.
Right.
And if you've done well or have some left over, and most people like to pass that to what we call subsequent generation, which is your children. And if you wanted to pass it to them, you want to make sure that it does pass to them and they get it the way you want.
Right.
Okay? So the only way to do that is to memorialize your wishes in an enforceable instrument, and then it's like you said, it will work like a well-oiled machine.
Yes.
But if you don't memorialize it, now here's the problem. How do we know what your wishes are because you're gone? Now, your wife can say, well, he always told me this, or your kids can say, well, Daddy always said he wanted me to have this. And okay, that's some input, but it's less than it's less than powerful input. You know what I mean? Because it lends itself to interpretation. It lends itself to manipulation.
Yes.
Because if you say, well, Dad always wanted me to have the house, and nobody else ever heard that, it may or may not be true. And myself as an officer of the court and dealing with things like evidence, that won't carry the day. Okay.
Yep.
What will carry the day is you memorialize your wishes during lifetime while you're of sound mind and put it down. That will not only carry the day, that it becomes almost unrebuttable.
Right.
Or at least to successfully to rebut, to attack it. So, and it's not that big a deal to do it. I mean, it usually starts with these seminars or a call with me. And usually when I have a call for somebody that's completely cold, somebody coming in just like, I don't know what to do, what should I do, what are the options, I usually direct them to a seminar. Or sometimes I'll direct them to a recorded version of my seminar.
Right.
Some people just can't get up and get to a seminar.
Yeah.
We do them sometimes in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that come to those, but there's a lot of people that can't. The working folks, you got to get home, feed the kids. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I had 3 kids. I know how that goes. And then so we have adopted doing Saturday ones.
Yeah.
Now, that also lends itself to a lot of people coming to it, but some people can't attend those. And some people have illnesses or injuries or infirmities and just can't get there. Or it just depends. I mean, your family dynamics are unique. And if you can't make it to one, or you need to be at one quickly, things are going on and say, okay,
Sure.
your next one's a month out. I really don't want to wait that long. I'd like to do something this week.
Right.
We have a recorded version that we send. Now, it's almost the same information. It's just like a YouTube thing, but it's not as dynamic as the live thing.
Sure.
But it's like the next best thing.
Sure.
Okay. And it's just a PowerPoint. It's not a talking head. It's not, Unfortunately, you don't. I like to joke and tell folks the only disadvantage to it is you don't get the pleasure of listening to me talk live. Because when you're live, you get an opportunity to lighten the mood a little bit.
But it's a great resource.
It is. And we kind of send it out by invitation. It's not on my website to go look at any point in time.
Right.
You've got to call me and ask for it, and I'll be glad to offer it. But I really do recommend the seminars themselves because people that have come to it, and there's a lot of them, and they all give me feedback. And the feedback has always been very, very positive about what they've gleaned from it, their level of understanding when they leave, their level of hope of that something can be done after they listen to it. It's designed to do just that. So that's the exact response I'm trying to get when we have these seminars. So,
Yes.
Find an hour. It's about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes long. It's really not too bad. Right. And then I stay there for questions. Sometimes I'm there over an hour and a half for questions.
Right.
The last one we had, I think I was packing up at 1 o'clock to leave. So, the question. If most people have questions. If you have them, bring them. If you develop them during the presentation, ask them at the Q&A at the end. And I'll be glad to. And I donate that time. Take advantage of that. I'm offering my time to discuss what your question is about and give you an answer to it. I'm more than happy. It's actually my favorite part of the seminar for a couple of reasons. One, people can ask some really good questions. And two, it lets me know where people are thinking. Where their thoughts are. Things a lot of times things say the questions is wrapped around an incident.
Sure.
Or a response. And so it's like we're really where the rubber meets the road because this is what these people are dealing with. And this happened and now I have to, do I have to do this or do I have to do this? And so, and everybody's in the same boat because, although estate planning is different for everybody, they all have the same fundamental realities that are coincident to everybody.
Sure.
Right? And so, come to it, ask questions, listen to what we have to say. Every now and then I get somebody that calls and says, "What's the catch?"
Yes.
And I say, "Well, what do you mean, what's the catch?" "Well, are you going to pressure me into signing something?" Or I said, "No, none of that. There's nothing to sign."
Sure.
I'm not going to lock the door, and you can't get out until you commit to do something. If you hear what I have to say, and you think there's a fit there for your family, let's talk about it.
Sure.
We schedule what is called a family vision meeting, and that can be a pretty long meeting, and they typically are. They're rarely less than an hour and a half long, and they're usually about 2. And that is when we do a little bit more of a deep dive into your family dynamics and what the problems you may have and what the solutions would be. And if at the end of that you want to go forward, we'll go forward with something. If at the end of that you don't want to go forward, we won't. I mean, we'll part friends. There's no hard feelings.
Yeah.
Because you have heard the information, you understand what the options are, you've made an intelligent, informed choice what you want to do with your family.
Sure.
Now, for most folks, there's an option that fits and they're interested. But, it doesn't mean it has to be that way. I've never been that kind of attorney. I've never been, you got to do this. I don't have time to explain it to you. Just sign this. Never. I want you involved in that decision-making process. I insist on it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I even had some people, every now and then I'll get somebody, actually one was a friend of mine.
Yeah.
We did a trust plan for him. We get there, and when we do go through the signing, like I say we're doing this week,
Yes.
we've had 2 or 3 every day, I go through all the documents and explain. Some of it a second time. And this friend of mine was pretty impatient.
Yeah. Impatient is a good
And
word.
he said on a couple occasions, listen, I trust you. I know you're doing what's good for me. Just give me the sign. Tell me where to sign it.
Yeah.
I said, I'll tell you what, I will speed it up and abbreviate it, but I'm still going to explain what each and every document is because it's important to me that you understand.
That's right.
And if I don't explain it to you, then I'm not sure that you do. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So bear with me. And most folks are very appreciative of the way we handle the signing because we disclose all that. So anyway, that was, start out with the seminar, but
Yes.
kind of morphed into that. But yeah, I'll bring it up again at the end of the hour, the one we're doing. But it's a great venue to have it in. There's plenty of parking.
Yeah.
It's air conditioned. It's a big space. It's got tables with the chairs.
Yeah.
The tables are round, so you usually have to adjust the seats. So if the table's round, then somebody's sitting with their back toward the presentation. But that's never been much of a problem.
Yeah. It dawned on me while we're talking too that of course these programs are on Facebook Live, but then they are kind of stored there on Facebook on the WDXE Facebook site. So you can go back and we can go back and watch any of these programs anytime. If you hear something here that you like, or maybe you'd like to hear again with Stan, you can look us up there on Facebook or YouTube, the WDXE site.
Oh, cool.
And scroll through and find Stan and me, of course, you'll see us, and you can plug and play right there.
That's right. That sounds great. I mean, I'd forgotten that. I know it was on the Facebook because I know we see it here every day. And plus, it's an interactive program. Feel free to call in.
Right, right.
Some people get shy about calling in on the radio. Maybe just kind of get over that because I mean
while we're live, of course, the phone lines are open here 931. It is 766-9393. That's the number.
You should have no fear that either of us are going to say, well, that's a really dumb question.
I have the dumb questions.
Speaking of dumb questions, I mean, we ask them off air a lot, don't we?
That's right. That's right.
So no such thing as a dumb question. So
yeah, right before you came on the air, we were laughing because I played a crazy song called "I'm My Own Grandpa."
You did,
and you happened to hear that, and of course. If you're your own grandpa, how would you handle that estate?
I hadn't heard that before, but I was in a parking lot,
Yeah.
and it came up, and I listened to it. It was sort of a song. I mean, it was a narrative song.
Yes,
and it was just the most convoluted representation of what I call affinity and consanguinity.
We talk about dynamic families.
Oh my gosh.
That was one.
And I think it was done a long time ago. You guys were talking about it.
Yes.
Maybe you can Google that and listen to it. But it was not only was it entertaining and funny.
Yes,
it was very interesting because he just went through this convoluted family tree, and how he fell in love with somebody, and then his father fell in love with him, and then they had a child, and he ended up being at the end of the thing he ended up being the grandfather to himself.
Yes.
Which sounds bizarre, but it was all explained in that song. It was hilarious. So if somebody ever comes to me with that estate plan,
yes, that's a terrible estate.
I will certainly earn my fee. No,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that was cute, but
very good. Well, I also mentioned earlier that how important it can be to always to do this planning, and you just pointed out all the advantages. But one key advantage to me is what you do or don't do to your family by not planning. Your family and those that you leave behind, they're already going through the trauma of having lost you and going through the painful process sometimes of your passing, that kind of thing. And that's one thing to handle, but then have to handle the unpreparedness of the estate is another. So it's so important, really, to get that handled so your family doesn't have to strain during what is already a difficult time.
A good way to put it is if you do some estate planning, other than the asset protection trust, but if you do estate planning, you really don't do it much of it for yourself. you do it for the people you love.
That is
the
exactly
majority of
right.
what you do is for. Now, our asset protection trusts are protecting property during your lifetime, but the part that happens after death, if you got a plan memorialized after death, you when you do that, you are doing that. That is the benefit of your children, your heirs, not you. You and I have seen that. I've been doing trusts long enough that I have quite a few of them that actually mature.
Right.
And I get people that come in that are the successors in interest of those things, and the property passes. And I often say, my favorite clients or my best clients are the ones that come in and say, "Hey, mom and dad had a trust plan. Everything went like a well-oiled machine."
Yes.
They say, "Hey, Stan, save the sales pitch. We want it because we've seen it work. We want one." Okay. Now, if you hadn't seen it work, well, that's why we start with the seminars and stuff like that. But that's the kind of feedback we get. Every now and then there's a hiccup because sometimes a lot of the trusts I've seen mature that are brought to me are not ones that I authored. They were authored some years ago, and they weren't one of mine. And sometimes we'll find
Yes.
places where it's void or silent on particular
Yes.
issues that have come up, and then we have to deal with that. And there's a way to deal with it,
Right.
but we have to fill in the gap, and there's a way to do that. But so
Right.
there's some slight hiccups from time to time, but even for the most part, it goes very, very smooth.
Yes. I'll say this, Stan, you and I have become friends here because we visited so much, got to know each other a little bit.
That's right.
But I'll say this, once someone truly understands the benefit of your services, you don't have to sell it.
Well,
You don't have to sell it. I mean,
It does sell itself.
It happens to me in my business. Once I understand the benefit of what you're bringing to the table, you don't have to sell it. It's just a matter of looking at their circumstances and making the system work
that's
for
right.
them.
That's right. I mean, I agree. Most people realize the value of it, the value of having it done, the ease and continuity of having it done. All that is they just do. But again, that's a choice that you make. I'm just there to help point out the options and how they work and
Right.
how they might apply with your situation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hey, I want to shift gears a little bit. Before we do, we said about being an interactive show, but
Yes.
I do want to mention the phone number.
Yes.
It's 931-766-9393.
766-9393. We'd love to have phone calls.
Kind of
we
enough.
don't get a lot, but we'd love to have them.
Kind of an easy number to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So anyway, what I want to talk about a little bit this morning was, throughout this week we had some TennCare cases come back.
Okay.
We had one come back with a approval. Everything just went just exactly as expected.
Good.
And we had another come back that was a denial.
Oh,
And,
wow, okay.
I talk about that from time to time. Now,
Yes.
I want to talk about it because, we the interesting thing was both cases were extremely similar in nature,
Okay.
and they ended up with a complete opposite result.
That's interesting.
So they were both married couples where you had one spouse in care. Okay, and of course, when you're a married couple, the rules are different than if you're the survivor or a single person.
Yes.
Right? Okay, they're very different. Now, these were both married couple, which means we have these spousal impoverishment rules that are available to us, and we can shift assets from one spouse to the other. And like I said, the one case, exactly what we expected. We present the application with our supporting documentation. When they asked questions, then we responded to them, and it came back and said, "Okay, approved, just like you asked for." Okay?
Yes.
The other one came back and just said denied. Now, when they say denied, now I just want to make it clear that's not a time to panic.
Okay.
It actually happens more often than you think, and because it happens more often than you think, we do things a certain way. I'm about to explain that.
Okay.
And so this thing comes back, and when they do a denial, they're very stingy on giving why.
That's interesting.
Interesting. If I had the opportunity to argue it and had the time, energy, and effort to do it, I think it's a violation of due process is what I think it is. You can't just deny somebody and say,
Not
go
tell them-
go
and-
fish on their reason.
and not
for
tell
crying
them
out
why.
loud. Yeah, that's right. But it is commonplace. So we have to figure it out. But they give you ever so slight clues. Now, before I go into what the denial was and what we anticipate it was, let me lay a little background, a little foundation. You file the application. Getting up to the application, we call it hurry up and wait. When you kind of do a lot of stuff in a hurry,
Right.
and then you file the application, and now everything comes to a wait. We did the hurry, now we got to wait. So you file the application and you wait to hear from TennCare. That's as simple as that. So you send them the application. Let's just say you send it on January the 1st, and you fax it into them. And you just wait to hear from them. Typically in about 2 months, somebody will get assigned to it, and they'll look at it. Sometimes it's a little sooner, but usually not. But it says typically around 2 months.
Okay.
Somebody will look at it, and they will most assuredly, they will ask. It's called a verification request. You can think of it as an information request. They will ask for something. Now,
Yes.
typically what they ask for, so if we file January 1st, and somebody starts looking at it in March, okay? One of the first things they'll ask for is updated bank records for January, February, March, because we turned it in with bank records, but the January, February, and March bank records didn't exist until January, then February, and then March went by.
Right.
And when they start looking at it, they want to see that gap filled. That's very typical. So, as we're waiting, we have our client, preserve the bank statements, and we have them electronically and all ready to send them when they ask. Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll ask for other things like, could you send me a copy of this insurance policy or something like that,
Right.
or stuff, or they'll ask a question on a specific thing in the bank records. I see where there was $9,000 spent. Can you tell me where that went?
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. Okay. Now our process is we have all this information, we gather it ahead of time.
Yeah.
And we have it. It's a pretty big endeavor to gather all this stuff. It doesn't take
yeah.
you can't do it overnight. And because they don't take your word for it on anything. If you say, okay, I'm married and my spouse is deceased, they say, okay, great, but we're not taking your word for it. Send us a marriage certificate.
Yeah.
And send us a death certificate. Okay, then you got to go find that stuff.
That's right.
And it's you may have it, but a lot of people's like, geez, I don't know where Daddy's death certificate is. I hadn't seen it in years. Anyway. But they're not going to they don't take our word for it. They don't even take it on identity. Okay. So anyway, so we gather all this stuff. We gather these bank records. We gather everything about your assets that you have, money in the bank, Edward Jones managed accounts, stuff you have with Fidelity or Vanguard, 401ks, IRAs. You name it. We gather all this stuff in anticipation of them asking a question about something. Because when they ask you a question about something, now that the COVID compliance waivers have all expired, you got like 10 days to respond. And you get the request on day 4. Another violation of due process in my mind, but that's the way it works, okay? So you get it. So you don't have a lot of time to go hunt this stuff down. But the way we do it, we've already got it. And so I actually have on my crisis team, if somebody hires us, we will add 1 or 2 of my members on my team as authorized 10-care representatives, which means they can respond to these.
Yes.
And so we don't have to go to the family and say, hey, we need this death certificate, and you go dig it up. We've already got it, and we've already been authorized by the family to respond to 10-care's request. So we do. We send it. Now, what happened in this case I'm telling you about is it came back, and the only information it gave for the denial was it said, we had sent you a request for information, and you failed to respond. So we're denying because we can't determine if you're eligible or not.
Okay.
It's what I call the refusal to supply information. Now, so I call the family and I tell them, I say, don't panic because this happens relatively often. Now, here's what we're going to do. Because they do this relatively often, when we get a verification request, okay, we gather the information. We categorize it into a packet. We write an extensive cover letter that talks about what's in the packet. It gives us supporting information for it.
Yes.
We fax it into them, and we do it timely. Because when they get a hold of us, we're very cognitive to what the response date is.
Yes.
Okay, and we usually get it in many, many days ahead of time.
Yes.
And so we fax it to them. Then we get a fax confirmation.
Yes.
Okay. Then we call them the next day if it's after hours and get a verbal on the phone that they received the packet.
Yes.
Okay. So in this case, there was 2 verification requests, and there was nothing remarkable about the request. They asked for the base standard stuff.
Standard stuff.
And another thing they ask for all the time is like, okay, can you send us their income verification, which is like the Social Security letter you get every December that says, hey,
Right.
your Social Security starting January 1st is going to be this.
Right.
And so we send that. And if you don't have that and can't find it, it's pretty easy to get quickly on the Social Security website. So that's the kind of stuff they ask for. So we sent them everything they asked for. Timely,
Okay.
and then exhaustively documented it. Now,
That's
so
key.
in the request or in the denial they sent us, they did not say, and wouldn't it just be at least a pure professional courtesy? Because each request they asked for like 2 or 3 things.
Yeah.
Can you at least extend us the courtesy to say what it is we didn't send you?
Yes.
So we know. Okay. So I went back and we looked at it. The team went back and looked at it. We looked at the requests they sent us. And they were for specific things like the bank records, the income verification, and whatever. And we looked at what we sent them, and it was exactly what they asked for.
Yes.
We verified we had the fax confirmation. We verified we had the phone confirmation. All right.
Yes.
So what we're going to do, now our only option now is to appeal.
Yeah.
Now, every time this has ever happened in the past, it rarely makes it to the fair hearing, but it has. When it does, it is a slam dunk win on our part because we can show exactly what we did, exactly when we did it, exactly how we did it, and prove that they got it. Okay?
Yes.
Which is where you want to be. That's how you approach an
Yeah.
application to TennCare with all the winning answers before you even send it in.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do. And now, but what happens most of the time is when we file our notice of appeal. Okay. Sometimes we can just call them and say, hey, we sent that stuff to you. And we usually try that. But a lot of times they say, I've already denied, so you have to appeal. Okay. I mean, that happens too. So, but we'll try. Every now and then we'll get one that'll discuss it with us. And sometimes if you can convince them that we sent it, then they'll withdraw the denial. Okay. But what we do is we file an appeal. Now, the appeal is like a very simple document. You just literally have to send them something that says, I appeal the decision.
Yeah.
And date your appeal because you have like 30 days to appeal.
Yeah.
Of course, we don't wait 30 days. We appeal immediately.
Right.
So because once you appeal, then they have 90 days to set a hearing, and you just don't want to add another month onto it.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
anyway, so we send the appeal, and in the appeal, even though it's not necessary, we include a whole lot of stuff that says, oh, by the way, and here's why we're appealing your decision.
Yes.
And we say, you asked this, and we list the request, and we show the request. Here's what we sent you. We know you got it because here's the fax confirmation,
Yes.
the exact number of pages of the exact packet I just showed you.
Right.
And here's the phone verification where we called you and said, hey, did you get the package we faxed? And you said, yes, we got it. We'll send it to the appropriate caseworker, okay? And so we're saying that's why we don't. What happens often that we'll put a flame under them to call us and say, okay, it looks like we did get everything.
Yes.
Now, when you fax stuff to TennCare, I'm surprised more often it doesn't get misplaced.
Yes.
When you fax it, it goes to a fax machine somewhere. Now, who sorts it out and gives it to who? I haven't got a clue. The presumption is it ends up with the person it's supposed to be with.
Well, I have to stop you and ask a question. Why are they using a fax machine?
I don't know. The only time I ever use my fax machine is to send stuff to TennCare. Now, they do have, let me in all fairness,
Yes.
they do have a TennCare Connect portal that you can create.
Okay.
It's an electronic thing. You can open up the account and you can file the application and you can upload documents in response to requests on the portal.
Okay.
Now, I've had some experience with the portal. I do not like it. It is riddled with problems, in my opinion. I don't want to get into it, but it is. I mean, I guess they're trying to do it electronically.
Yes.
But trying to do it electronically creates a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Because, they send you letters in the mail. Once you open the portal, now when they want to notify you of something, they just stick it in the portal. Yeah. And I have had people come to me and say, I don't know what to do. I opened the portal like they said to do, and then one day I went to look, and there was a letter in the portal, and it said, we denied you, and you have till June 6th to appeal, and here it is August, and I didn't know it, and my appeal rights have come and gone, and that's exactly what happens. So if you're going to open the portal, you better look at it every day.
Yeah.
And I don't like it because I don't like that kind of notice. Due process, part of notice is part of due process, and it has to be done in a reasonable manner or a meaningful manner where people get notice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of it, but there is a way to do it other than fax. So, anyway, and usually what that happens when we send that to them, it precipitates them getting a hold of us and then saying, okay, you did send it.
Yeah.
And we don't have to go to a hearing. But I tell my client, don't panic. I'm not scared one bit to go to this hearing because I've got it won before I get there.
Yeah.
Because I every time I've done it so far on that issue, it's been a slam dunk.
Yeah.
And it has to be a slam dunk because of the way we set it up.
Yeah.
So I guess a side point is, if you're doing a do-it-yourself application and you don't document, now it's your word against theirs.
Is this just
and if you say you sent it and a state of Tennessee governmental agency says no, we never received it, I can tell you right now which way the administrative court's going to lean. Okay.
Yeah, they're going to lean with them.
And a court's all about proof. It's not about what you think. It's not about what you know. It's about what you can prove.
Right.
So when they say they didn't get it, and we come in with all this exhaustive proof that they got it and said they got it and verified that they got it, I'd hate to be the person on the other side that's trying to argue they didn't get it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and so, and I guess they see that too sometimes. And that's why they want to deal with it, ahead of time.
Do you think, in your opinion, is it just a matter of someone's looking at the file and they just overlooked the document in the file or something? Or what's the heck?
That's pure speculation on my part.
I'm
I'm
sure
not
it
a
is,
fly
yeah.
on the wall.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be if I could stand the chaos. I think. But I'm kind of an organized person. I don't think it's very organized. But I don't know. What makes me maybe think it's not what you're saying is it happens often.
Yeah.
This stuff gets sent, and they often say, we didn't get it.
It's
Now, I don't know what that means. Does it mean, now, what I do know it means is you can't claim we didn't read it, because if you get it, the presumption in the law is that you read it and understand it, whatever it is I sent you.
Yes.
And so, but the fact that you didn't, it's a wide open claim. We didn't get it. You didn't, but it doesn't say that. It says you failed to send it to us. Is the complaint. They didn't say they didn't get it. They said, we sent you a request for information. You failed to provide the requested information. Now, if you're doing a do-it-yourselfer or you miss that date with using the portal, there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah.
Okay, now if you're going to go to appeal, if they say you didn't send it and you're doing a do-it-yourself thing and you did drop it in an envelope or faxed it to them,
Yes.
what are you going to say at the fair hearing? Well, yeah, I did. Well, what's your proof? Well, just because. I mean, I don't know.
You have to be able to verify.
The
that
court
you've
wants to know.
Yeah.
It's an issue of proof at this time. They're going to want to know. Okay, they claim they didn't get it. If they're presumptively correct, but it's a rebuttable presumption.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything, then the presumption prevails, and they win. So you got to go in their proof. So you got to stack the deck with this documentation.
Yeah, and it can happen. It happens even with email stuff. That there have been people that have sent me documents, and they absolutely didn't send them, but I've overlooked it. And I say, hey, I didn't get that document from you. Well, I sent it to you, and then I look back through my emails because I get a blue million.
And there it was.
And there it was.
Yep.
And so it's just one of those things.
That has worked so well for us in past.
Yeah.
Now, not just for that issue. So anyway, to finish that issue up, no cause for alarm. It happens. We anticipate it happening. We've got procedures in place to deal with it.
Yeah.
We will get eligibility. I've not failed yet to get somebody eligible. So we will get there. It's going to take a little longer because of that claim of theirs. But, our status of application pending status with the facility and everything remains intact. Everything, and that stays intact through all levels of appeal.
Right.
So no problem with that. But this documentation of what we do really was a help on a case we did about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And just to give you some background on this, when somebody's in assisted living, which is 10 care level choices level 2. A lot of times you talk about 10 care, you'll hear people talk about choices. 10 care choices, that's what they call it. It's level 1, level 2, and level 3. And level 1 is your nursing home or full skilled facility.
Right.
And level 2 and level 3, I'm not going to talk much about level 3, but level 2 is a waiver program. That's hard to explain, but it's something carved out of the normal choices level 1.
Right.
And it's usually assisted living or what we call home and community based system.
Right.
And it has the eligibility rules, like the amount of money you're allowed to have and the eligibility for income and assets is identical. But it's a little different on some other procedures.
Yes.
One of them is you have to be medically needy. Remember I talked about that? Category 1 is you got to need to be in a nursing home, or you have to need to be in assisted living. And what need to be means you can't do a certain number of the activities of daily living, and you need help with them. Okay.
Yes.
Now, when you go into a nursing home, discharged from a hospital, or go in, one of the first things they do automatically is they perform a PAE. It's a pre-admission evaluation.
Yes.
What it is like physical, right? But it's a 10 care geared physical. It's a physical to determine, do you need to be in a facility?
Yes.
And if you need to be in a facility, how much help do you need with stuff? So what kind of a facility do you need to be in, right?
Right.
Because your level of care determines what you need, and it determines your cost.
That's right.
And assisted living is like you can still do most of the activities of daily living, but there's a couple you need help with.
Right.
So assisted living is, you kind of live in a place by yourself. You do a lot of things for yourself. You may cook your own meals. You may have trouble not prescribing, but administering your own medication. Or you may have trouble ambulating around or just whatever. And that's what they help you with, right? But for the most part, you're still living independently. You just need a certain amount of help on certain things. And so they do that in a controlled environment. And so anyway, the point is, but when you go into assisted living, they don't automatically do a PAE. You, the applicant, are required to request it.
Right.
Okay, now, we know that. Okay, no problem. That's no big surprise. We know we're supposed to do it. So we had a case
Correct.
where the person went in,
Okay.
and now when you request the PAE, you have to request it. TennCare doesn't do it. They have a contract group. It's called the AAAD, stands for Area Agency on Aged and Disabled.
Okay.
3 A's and a D, triple AD. And so they are the ones that go and do the PAE. All right. Now,
Okay.
we had this case. And then once you get the PAE, they send it to TennCare, and then you get a letter from TennCare that says you're either approved for your level of care or you're not.
Okay.
I mean, that's what the whole process is, right?
Right.
TennCare wants to be convinced you need to be there before they even consider whether you're financially eligible, right? And so it's a big process. And so on this case, the people that do the PAE said, well, we're not going to do it until TennCare says they're approved. We said, no.
Right.
Wait a minute. That's a legal impossibility because
Right.
TennCare is not interested in it until they get step number one, and this is step number one. It surprised me that they went this route because they do this all the time.
Yes.
So I don't know why they did, but anyway, so I think we must have contacted them by letter or by email or by phone call
Right.
over a dozen times. All right.
Okay.
And they constantly refused or said, no, we're not going to do it because of this, that, or the other thing. And we constantly tried to correct them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would listen to them, and sometimes they'd get arrogant and just say, you're not telling me what I'm supposed to do. We're just not going to do it until TennCare says it's okay to do it. Now, TennCare saying it's okay to do it has nothing to do with it. TennCare has something to say when you send them the results.
Right.
Okay. Now, so what happened was we have 45 days or 90 days to get this done. And so they put us off and put us off and put us off. And so finally, we got them to do the PAE.
Yeah.
They did the PAE, they sent it in, and TennCare responded, and I'll give you 3 guesses as to what TennCare said. Hey, we got your PAE. He's qualified, but, we're not going to do anything about it because you filed your PAE in excess of the 90 days you're supposed to get the PAE from entering the facility. Now, who's responsible for all that stalling? Okay, so we appealed that, and we zealously appealed it. Now,
Yes.
what we did was every phone call, every letter, every email, every time we spoke to them, we documented.
Yes.
We got into that hearing. It's a hearing. It was telephonic. That's how they do
Yes.
it. But you call witnesses and everything. It's just not.
Sure.
And so we called the member of our team that did all that. And he was on there for a long time. We went through each and every one. We said, we did this, we did that, we did this, we did that, we did this. We literally begged them to do it. We literally said, you have to do it. We're running out of time. You pleaded for them to do it. Please do it. We'd do it for you if we could, but we can't. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
On and on. Well, and they tried to defend it. TennCare tried to defend it, and they didn't do a very good job. And
Yes.
the judge just read the riot act. Okay. And he let the AAAD have it.
Oh my gosh.
And make it a long story short, he went on to say the documentation in this case is compelling.
Yeah.
He said there's no doubt in the court's mind what went on here.
Yeah.
And they at the end of it, they said, we are not holding this applicant responsible for the delay of the third party that just wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So they ordered that the TennCare accept the PAE and accept it as being timely.
Yeah.
Which is what was the right result.
Which should have happened.
So the whole point was this documentation we do. That came in. Without that, we I don't know where we would end up.
Yeah.
Probably not as good as we did.
Yeah.
But we're showing that we are doing this. We're trying to do what we're doing. Now, like I said, if we could go out and hire a doctor to do it, we probably would have done it.
Yeah.
But that's not the procedure.
Yeah.
And so what do you do when they just put you off? Does
Yeah.
everything come to a grinding halt? No. You still have remedies at law. Okay.
Well-
and this was one of them.
It's a shame, though. I mean,
They have to do that.
It's a shame that you have to do that, but you have the experience and know-how now to make sure that if you're put in that situation, that you have the ammunition to go to battle.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned on an earlier radio program that there was an appeal that they have 90 days. When you send in an appeal, they have 90 days to give you a date.
Yeah.
Well, the 90th day came and went, and it's like, if I missed a time frame, you can bet your bottom dollar
Yeah, they write
would,
you off.
Oh, they would say just case closed.
Yeah.
You missed the deadline. That's it.
Yeah.
But when they miss the deadline, it seems like all's forgiven, right?
Yeah.
And it's not. And so it's only forgiven if you forgive it.
Yeah.
So we were about 8 weeks to 10 days after the deadline, and I think I mentioned on your radio show, I went to higher court and filed a writ of mandamus, which is a writ that commands action. Makes a
Right.
higher court make somebody lower do something.
Yes.
Force it, compel the action.
Yeah.
And magically, within a week, I get the phone call, and I got the letter in the mail that gave the date.
Yeah.
So there's things to do, but like you said, man, you should not have to. You're entitled to all this stuff. You're entitled to this procedure, and you should expect everybody to follow the rules.
I guess this falls under speculation, but is it that the system is that overwhelmed?
Well, that's one of the claims that they make, and I don't doubt that it is.
Yeah.
And I think they have a high attrition rate. As a matter of fact, I know they do, because it really seems like if you ever get a hold of somebody over there, it's never the same person
always
twice.
someone new.
Even if you're talking about the same case.
Yeah.
Talking about Mr. Jones, right? You
Yeah.
talk to the 10 care on Mr. Jones. A month later, you call about Mr. Jones, it's somebody else. That's my case now.
Yeah.
A month later, it's somebody else. It's my case now. So I think
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they shuffle them around. I think people just come and go probably pretty quickly.
High rate of turnover, I guess.
I don't know. It's not my problem. I try to work with it as best I can, but
Sure.
and who knows? Now some of these inappropriate denials concern me,
Yeah.
because when I say inappropriate, it's inappropriate when you deny and then we come back with proof and show conclusively that it shouldn't have been denied in the first place.
Yeah, it should have never been denied. Yeah. Denied.
And then it's like, okay, I wonder. Let's just play this out. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just having some thoughts,
Yeah.
And if suppose there's 10 applications, and they do an inappropriate denial on all 10 of them,
Yeah.
and 2 or 3 of them are my clients,
Yeah.
or somebody like me that says, wait a minute, this is not a proper denial. Here's the rule, and here's what it should have been.
Right.
We take it to fair hearing. The court says, yeah, you're right. It should have been this, and so you end up getting approval.
Right.
Don't they still have 7 that they are not paying for?
Yeah.
Because if it's a do-it-yourself application, it
Yeah.
comes back to Mr. Jones, you might say, well, gee, honey, I guess they're just not going to pay, and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to appeal it. They
Right.
don't know what to do. So
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if that's what happens or not. I hope not.
Well, it almost smells that way.
Well, what's the old saying? Tell me this is not a government operation. But anyway, we work with them as best we can. I don't assume anything on their end. I just know that there's rules and they're expected to follow them, just like I am.
Yeah.
And so we try to enforce that. So it's really. I often say that if there's ever an area of the law where people need an advocate,
Yeah.
it is here,
Yeah.
because you are up against. This is a real David and Goliath situation when you start this thing off. And people that do a do-it-yourself application don't see what they're getting into.
Yeah.
And that's a problem, because if you set yourself up and do something wrong and get denied, now you're behind the 8 ball because you've been denied.
Right.
A lot of things are different if you reapply. It changes. You can reapply, but it changes the status. You've lost a lot of time you now have to pay for.
Right.
It's a setback to do that. So it's important to get it set up and get approved on that first shot. And even if they deny approval, like in this case, we're going to get approved, and it's going to be this application. It's just going to take another couple of months.
Yeah.
Because they want to mess around and play games and say we didn't do something when we can prove emphatically and conclusively that we did it.
Of course, I have no idea how that state office operates and who's there or anybody as far as persons, but I would think that after a while, with the amount of information that you supply and the amount of applications that you send from your office, I would think that they would recognize it's one coming from you at this point.
Well, like I said, it's usually a different person all the time, so I don't know. But I'll be honest with you.
You think about that. I think about that.
Be honest with you, I don't even think I'd want to work in a place for these. Not just this government operations, lots of them.
Yeah, lots of them.
I have no doubt that there's an overwhelming amount of work to do in cases.
Yeah.
It's a big program. There's lots to do. They need a lot of people. If they don't, if they don't, now whose fault is that? I don't know, but they need to get your resources for what you need to get done. I imagine caseworkers just have a mile-high stack of cases on their desk. And so I don't fault them. If they're overworked, they're overworked. They need help.
If I was in charge, I would appoint you or somebody like you
Yeah.
over the department.
I don't.
So here's what you need to do.
But it's a but anyway. So it is a process. That's what we do. It's a pretty involved process.
Yeah.
It's riddled with rules, duties, obligations, and stuff like that that
Right.
have to be dealt with and acknowledged. So
Yeah.
actually, I find it kind of stimulating and fun, especially when we can do creative things.
Well, you obviously enjoy your work. You know, you've developed a lot of knowledge over the years of handling these cases and understand the state law regarding all this, and that's what your job is.
It is. And we try to, like I say, we're pretty successful with that so far.
Yeah.
I think we'll stay successful. And the rules are not difficult. You just got to know them because they're prolific. There's a lot of them.
Yeah. You have these seminars, Wills Trust in the Nursing Homes. You have the great website, Estate Plan Stand, and the phone number to your office over there in Pulaski is what?
That is 931-363-7222. I wish it was something cute like Go Estate Planning or something. It's not. 931-363-7222.
That's an easy number to remember, though.
Not bad. Not
It
bad.
is. And
Yeah, and my website is easy, Estate Plan Stand.
that's right.
You know, I don't know if I ever told the story of how Estate Plan Stand for my website got,
How would it happen?
come about.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I think it's been in effect for 3 or 4, maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm on the radio. I'm on the radio out in Nashville.
Yeah.
I've been for a while, and I'm on both this station as well as over in Pulaski.
Yeah.
And I've been on other ones intermittently from time to time, and I give my website.
Yeah.
And it's Pierchoski Estate Law.
Yeah, and nobody could spell that, or I couldn't.
Well, one day we got one of my team contacted me and said, "Hey, had somebody reach out to us," and they went on for about a minute or two about how hard it was to find your website. They kept taking stabs at the spelling, and they couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
I guess eventually they hit enough correct letters that
they finally figured it out.
the search with the "Did you mean?" or whatever
Yes.
came up.
Yes.
And they said, you need to make this easier for people to find.
Yes.
Because I had a heck of a time finding it.
Yes.
So Courtney, who's on my team, came up with the idea. Says she looked to see if they're the domain or whatever they call it. Now, I'm not all that tech savvy, but the domain of Estate Plan Stand, because on my radio shows, you got to have a cute handle, and I call myself Estate Plan Stand, right?
Right.
And so she looked to see if that domain was available, and
Yeah.
it was, and we bought it. And
Yeah.
so when you do that, you can link it directly to. So if you type in estatePlanStand.com, it goes to PierchoskiEstatelaw.com.
That's correct.
And it's just like you typed that in the first place.
Right.
And that's so much easier to work with. So that was a genius.
Yeah.
I was just
Did she
genius for.
Did she get a bonus for that?
She did. But and that has worked very well. But that's how that got born, and it wasn't my idea, but that's how it came about.
That's
And-
right.
and
That's right.
it
That
makes-
deserves a bonus.
And it does make it easy to get there.
Yeah, that is key and is so easy to remember. EstatePlanStand.com, and you can get in touch and learn a lot right there on that website. I have explored it myself, and
There's a lot of reading material there.
I would highly recommend that you do that. And of course, give Stan's office a call, 363-7222. Your next seminar is when?
It is July the 13th. It's a Saturday. We do those at 10 a.m. Wills Trust in the Nursing Home.
Now, is this one going to be where?
It's going to be here.
Going to be here.
At
Okay.
the Country
Yeah.
Cafe at the WLX radio
Did
station.
you notice they just redid the floors in there and then updated and everything? It's
Well,
nice in there.
last seminar we were here, they had just finished the floors in the restrooms. Did
Yeah.
they do the main floor?
They did the main floor.
Oh, okay.
It's shiny in there now.
I know that Charlotte had expressed an interest to use it for more things.
Yeah.
I don't know what all they use it for. I do know they use it every Friday night.
They use it for their music venue on Friday
Yeah.
nights. They have some locals that play music in there and have for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, it's
And
only
have
$5 at the door. I mean,
Yeah.
and they
Have-
use that money for a good cause.
They do.
It's really a
Done that for many, many years
Yeah.
and enjoy it. But it's a great venue. It really is.
It's big.
Yeah.
Got tables, got chairs. Yeah, it's real nice. A little kitchen. I mean, we always bring some light refreshments, you
Yeah.
know. And so it's a great venue. So
So July 13th, put it on your calendars, and you start at 10 a.m. In the mornings.
10 a.m. as promptly as we can. You know, if I see some folks still buzzing around the parking lot, we'll hold off a little. But yeah, we try to be very prompt with that.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you know, you can call the office at that number and just tell us if you're coming.
Sure.
We keep a loose RSVP list, and all it really is a head count. You know, just call us and says, "Hey, I'm coming. I'm going to bring my wife, so there'll be 2 of us," or
Right.
"I'll bring in a child. There's 3 of us," or whatever. And that's loose, so we have this tables and chairs set up, right?
Right.
You know, when get close to seminar, I mean, but walk-ins are welcome too. I mean,
Absolutely.
and we anticipate that. And I think in the last seminar we had like 13 or 14 walk-ins.
Yeah.
So we always set up extra. And the last thing I want to do is it's 10 o'clock, it's time to start, and I have to roll out tables and put up chairs and do that. I mean, I have people here that are helping me, but still, it's just gets cumbersome, gets in the way. So we keep the RSVP list just to have an idea of head count, but we always anticipate walk-ins and we also anticipate no-show. And there's some people that can't make it at the last minute. So if you decide at 8 o'clock Saturday morning that you can come, don't feel a need to call.
Yeah.
Because you won't get us anyway. We're not in the office. But just come. Just show up. It'll be okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
LB did that. His wife came to one, and about 10 or 15 minutes into it, LB shows up and sat over on the bench there, the one that has the tailgate for the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just popped in. It's okay. We'll find room for you.
Well, it's a great thing to plan to do. It's a great thing to do for you and your possessions, your family, is to do that estate planning.
And if you want to call me and just ask a question about something, call that number 363-7222, or you can call and set up one of my phone calls. We have these scheduled phone calls. If you call and got a question, the girls will take down your question. They'll schedule a time for me to call you back.
Yes.
And when I call you back, I will have already looked at the question, given it some thought, and then when I call you, my time is dedicated to that phone call.
Yes.
If you call me and I'm in the middle of something, you're not going to get a dedicated time. It's like
Right.
it's difficult. I don't like to shoot from the hip on these questions. So if they if you do that and schedule that call, I will call you.
So,
it'll happen. So
time well spent.
Yeah.
Time well spent. And again, we're live here on Friday mornings from 8 to 9. It is Stan Pierchoski Estate Plan Stan and the Pierchoski Estate Law Hour. And, of course, his office is located in Pulaski, Tennessee, on the square there. Did you say you moved?
no, I'm going to be moving, but I'm only moving 2 doors down. So
Yeah, you're going to be still there, still right there.
yeah, right there.
Still right there. That phone number again, 363-7222. And the seminar coming up on July 13th. What do you got planned for the week, buddy?
I'm doing a little outside work on the deck. I just about got it finished.
Yeah.
I have a roof I built over some of our deck where I keep the grills.
Oh,
the outside kitchen.
It's
so to
that
speak.
time. It's that time of year,
And
man.
this is about the 3rd year now that it's been up, and I see those carpenter bees just riddling it. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to cover the whole inside with siding. It
Yeah.
looks nice and it keeps them out.
Yeah.
Well, it's cumbersome to work over your head on the inside of a roof, on the bottom side of a roof. But anyway, I almost got it done. I'm putting the fan and the lights back in and stuff like that. But hopefully that'll at least deter them.
You know, I know those bees are frustrating and they drill holes, this, that, and the other, but I hate killing the bees. We need those bees.
We do.
They need the pollen things and all that kind of stuff, and I kind of feel guilty killing them.
I just hate from the. I don't feel bad about not feeding them. They can go feed somewhere else. Go buzz into a tree. Why do you got to buzz into these boards? Anyway, looks like we're at the end.
Stan, everybody. Don't forget that phone number, 363-7222. Check out the website again at estateplanstan.com. Look forward to seeing you next week, Brent.
Thank you, Jeff. It's always a pleasure.
See you, man.
It was graded last month, way more than expected, over 100,000 more than in April.
The unemployment rate rose to 4% in May. The Federal Reserve is meeting next week. The Fed's been looking for